there, it's time for another Treehouse tutorial, and this one is all about reading skills, and we're thinking about making inferences and justifying those inferences with evidence from the text. This will be most useful for children in years 5 and 6. We're going to look today at a character, one of my favourite characters in fiction, and it's Gollum, and we're going to look at a little extract from The Hobbit. Some of you might have even seen the film, but believe it or not, it actually comes initially from a book by J.R.R. Tolkien. Let's have a little look at that extract and a little read through before we really zoom in on Gollum's character, thinking about his personality traits and some evidence alongside them. But let's just enjoy this little excerpt first of all. He was Gollum, as dark as darkness, except for 2 big, round, pale eyes in his thin face. He had a little boat, and he rowed about quite quietly on the lake, for lake it was, wide and deep and deadly cold. He paddled it with large feet dangling over the side, but never a ripple did he make, not he. He was looking out of his pale lamp-like eyes for blind fish, which he grabbed with his long fingers as quick as thinking. He liked meat too. Goblin he thought was good when he could get it, but he took care they never found him out. He just throttled them from behind, if they ever came down alone anywhere near the edge of the water while he was prowling about. They very seldom did, for they had a feeling that something unpleasant was lurking down there, down at the very roots of the mountain. Even though this table is set up with trait and evidence, we often actually look at the evidence first. Okay, because you can't just suddenly make up something about a character without referring back to the text. It's the text that you get all of this information from. So as we look back over, as we glance back over the text, which I've got in front of me here on my phone, we start here again with, he was Gollum, as dark as darkness except for 2 big round pale eyes in his thin face. Remember, we're not so much worried about appearance at the moment here, so we'll keep moving on and think about his character traits, what he's like as a character. He had a little boat, and he rowed about quite quietly on the lake, for lake it was, wide and deep and deadly cold. Now straight away we could be considering here some of this evidence. For instance, if I was to go over here now, you'll often find that the evidence we can write out in quotation marks like this and just copy it directly from the text. So let's see if I can get that jotted down nice and quickly here. Okay, so we've got the evidence there that he rowed about quite quietly. Now, come across to the trait. What kind of character do you think that makes him? Now, some of you might be saying, well, it makes him kind of a quiet character. I'll be pushing you for a little bit more there. Rowed about quite quietly. Again, if you know this story, you'll be at an advantage here. But the context really is that he's rowing about quite quietly for a reason. Okay, and as we see later in that little excerpt, he's going to be looking to catch, he's a bit of a predator, and he's going to be looking to catch some prey here. Okay, so as he rows about quite quietly, have a think about a trait that could be that you could link with him. I'm thinking of a word perhaps like sneaky, a bit of a sneaky kind of character. You might be linking this to him being quite smart at this point, okay, and that he shows a level of intelligence there in that. Right, so we've got the first kind of idea here. We're going to push our vocab a bit more as we go further through this. That's our first kind of idea of a trait and support and evidence. These two link up together. Okay, let's have a look back into the text. He paddled it with large feet dangling over the side, but never a ripple did he make, not he. He was looking out of his pale, lamp-like eyes for blind fish, which he grabbed with his long fingers as quick as thinking. He liked meat too. Goblin he thought good when he could get it, but he took care they never found him out. Okay, so pause there. We've definitely got a few more things to say about Gollum here. I found it really interesting, a little bit of evidence there that led me to feel like he could be, if I was just to flip this round a bit, he could be quite a devious character, which again encompasses that intelligence that we were talking about previously, but I think he's quite a devious character. So a little bit of a challenge for you now to maybe have a look back in the text. I'll put it up on the screen now, and think about where you think I got that from in the bit that we just read out. Give you a chance to do that now. Okay, so if you've been looking as closely as I'd hoped, then you might have found this sort of evidence that could support the trait that he was devious. Devious meaning that he is got some underhand tactics here, for example. He knows what he's doing, he's really thinking it through, but he's also got a kind of sinister side to him. Okay, so this is one other kind of trait and evidence that we could pair up together. Let's have another little look, delve into the text at the next part. He just throttled them from behind. If they ever came down alone anywhere near the edge of the water while he was prowling about. So hopefully in that section you are really, like I was, zooming in on one particular verb there. Throttled them. Throttled them. This is a powerful verb that is communicating to us something about Gollum's character. What is it communicating to us? Have a little think there. I'll give you an opportunity now to consider a trait. Remember, the better the word, the more ambitious the word, the better. Have a think about what trait you might link with Gollum if he's throttling his enemies. So here's just a couple that I've come out with. Potentially aggressive, ruthless. These are the kinds of words and these are the kind of traits that you want to be associating with Gollum's character here when you see the evidence that he throttled them. Okay. One final little point that we could make based on the evidence that we've just been looking at there is you might want to make the point that he is predatory. Think about your science learning, for example, and understanding predators and prey. Find me a bit of evidence there finally that suggests that he's quite predatory, again just in the section we've just read. Okay, and you might have found something slightly different, but this is just a couple of words that I found that I think would support that point. So predatory, well, he's prowling about. Okay, and if you are prowling, you're acting in the manner of a predator who is seeing his prey in front of him, for instance. Okay, so in that session, we've had an opportunity there to really delve deep into a particular character, and this is what I want you to be doing when you are reading. Parents, if you're watching, these are there's some really simple questions around this kind of objective that you can be asking your child every time you read with them. For instance, what kind of character is this? Why? There's your trait list there. What kind of character? Something from there. Why? There's your evidence to support that. Okay, and just constantly asking there. Words like impression. What impression do you get of this character? So hopefully that's been useful. Go and enjoy your reading.